got a sold-out show tonight down at the Bayou. How's it feel being here in DC?
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's all right. It was quite hot today.
I just hearing that we sold out just made us, made the hair curl a bit.
You've been surprised as far as your reception here in America?
Well, it's been terrific so far. I think we're really looking forward to this one. It's so different to the last place we played. That was New York. And I'm Nick, the synthesizer player, by the way.
All right, excellent synthesizer. I've been following you all since Imports came out. I really dig your music a lot.
Yeah, we heard people saying that the only station which isn't a college radio station really, which is playing our stuff, is your station. So we've just got to say thank you very much and keep up the good work.
Well, you're giving us something to play, which is...
Well, that's very flattering. That's very nice.
You all been together, for 2 years? Is that right?
Yeah, we've been together about 18 months. I'm Andy, the guitarist, incidentally. Get me a little piece in. We've been together about 18 months, yeah. Me and Simon were the last two members to join about May or June of last year. And the Nick and John, I think, formed the band about 3 years ago now.
That's right.
And met Roger shortly afterwards. And then went through a multitude of guitarists and singers before me and Simon came along, which is the winning five.
That's right, everything just slotted together very nicely about 14 months ago, and we haven't looked back since.
Yeah, we did go through some particularly horrendous singers and guitarists before then, mind you.
And then you came out with Planet Earth, which sold like, 250,000, I think.
Yeah, it's been doing really well. I mean,
sold a lot more than that now. Worldwide, it's sold probably more like 500,000, and it hasn't even sold over here yet. But if it does...
Well, that's why we're here, we're trying to convince people that, there's something new in the air.
There's something you probably don't like to talk about, from what I understand, as far as being classified as new romantics or futurists.
It's not a question of not wanting to talk about it. I mean, I'd rather talk about it and clarify.
All right.
Clarify?
Clarify
The point. I'd sort of make it clear that, we're not really part of the new romantic movement, because that was all sort of based in London. It was a very cliquey, elitist thing, which involved people, about 200 people used to go to the very fashionable clubs in London and had hundreds and hundreds of pounds to spend on different clothes every week. And yeah, right, I mean, we're just not...
Thing, yeah. I mean, that's what it was. The Blitz Kids thing was like a small group of people which clicked together in London and bored each other to death by standing around and not saying anything. So it wasn't really exciting in terms of when you went out. But we're from Birmingham, which isn't London. It's 100 miles away, so we're not really part of the Blitz Kids thing at all.
It kind of worked to your advantage too, as far as throwing you into the spotlight.
Well, what it meant was that we could we had a chance to experiment on our own and get into the music without getting dragged into that sort of fashionable thing.
Yeah, I think we've always put our music before our clothes, which is most important. Fashion, I think, is important, but no more important than a light show or a good sound system or anything else that's secondary to the music.
Well, I think that's what threw you above a lot of the other people, is you care about the whole package, as far as the appearance and the sound.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Even down to the photos in your album.
Yeah, I think it's all important. If you haven't got an overall image together and it starts getting bitty, then the thing just doesn't gel as well as having everything sorted out. Our next single, Girls on Film, which was released in England a couple of months back, is coming out over here soon. It's in about 2 weeks' time. I think that's probably more accessible for the American market than Planet Earth was. I hope so, anyway. So we'll wait and see.
Yeah, it's great. It's a dance song, it's got a really sort of heavy, it's dance beat. It's bass and drums which get your ankles moving.
Like Carol's Memories.
Right, that's more. I think that is actually more kind of raunchy and going away from the actual sort of the clubby sound that we've been sort of going for.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal that you have so many songs that are single material too on one album. I mean,
We think it's good too.
Anyone out there, to me, could be one also.
Yeah, we're not going to release any more of that album though. I think that'd be a bit unfair on people. That's boring your audience. That is.
How did you come about doing a cover version of Fame?
Well, it's a song we all like, really. People have found that quite interesting sort of song to do. Mainly, they say, God, you know, why the hell did you do it? Because it's always been a bit of a taboo doing cover versions of Bowie songs. For bands like us, it's been up to the kind of middle-of-the-road kind of people to do those kind of cover versions. And we just weren't frightened of doing it. We thought it was a good song. We're all sort of pretty well keen on Bowie.
We didn't see what, if we wanted to do it, why anybody else or that should dictate to us what we should be doing in terms of a cover version, because it is good to do a cover version. I mean, it's just one of those things, and it's just like a song everybody likes, so we thought, shit, we'll do it.
Yeah, we're not frightened of that sort of
You
thing.
can't dictate to the band that's out front anyway.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, but like a lot of bands do think it's not hip to do that, so we better not do it in case somebody slags us for doing it. But if you get slagged as much as us in Britain, then it don't matter anyway.
I read a couple things with you in Zigzag, among other things, talking about the difference between pop music and, say, what one of you defined as disturbing music. That it was easier for you to write pop music.
Well, I think, yeah, it's just a case that we try to concentrate on writing good songs as opposed to boring, babbling, ambient drones for 10 minutes.
Which is like what we meant by disturbing, where you got to think too much about it.
Like To the Shore is a little more in the area.
That's
disturbing. Right?
Would you call it disturbing? I wouldn't. I think it's a bit more kind of, just a little bit more obscure, not disturbing. I'd say that Night Boat was more disturbing.
Yeah, that one too, sure.
Yeah, but I still think they retain the form of the song as opposed to just a row, which is more what we were talking about, I think.
Well, you're caught up also in the idea of creating art and yet being commercial too, which I think you do a really good job.
I think that, you know, it's all to me part of doing what I want to do, being successful in my way, and the two go together, you know.
Yeah, I mean, like, it is an art to make good pop singles.
Sure.
It is actually an art, and it always has been, so.
Yeah, I mean, nobody slagged the Rolling Stones and the Beatles off because they're successful, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, that they write great songs.
Band of all time, the Beatles. But I suppose it depends what mood your average journalist is in at the time, whether he's going to slag you off or not for being like a sort of, well, releasing pop singers like we do in Britain.
Yeah, at the same time, you're still out there on the frontier of music.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
I think basically the songs we're recording we're happy with what we're doing and the way they're being produced and things. So it doesn't matter what sort of category they fall under as long as we're happy with them, and they're selling records at the same time, which is just like a bonus. It's a big bonus.
We're going to be doing this interview along with a tape of your live performance.
Right, yeah.
What sort of approach do you have to performing live?
Performing live is for us, it's well, for me, I know, sort of is much more important than the sort of having the records being played on the radio and sort of getting people buying them, because it's the one time when we've got nothing between us and the audience. You know, when you go into a record shop, you're buying something which has been recorded like months before, and the sort of sales techniques involved and everything. When we're on stage, we're completely in charge of everything, you know.
It's the only chance you've actually got. There's no barriers between the people who are into the band and the band. I'd say it's one-to-one thing. You're together in the same room, and the vibe and the buzz when it's a good gig beats anything. It's more important to me performing live, I think, and I prefer it. A hell of a lot.
Yeah, because you really do get a buzz off the people in there. You know, you kind of react with them and
I mean, it's
see what
like,
things
it's
get them
different
going,
every night. I'm sure some bands you can go and see. Well, I know some bands you can go and see, and you know every night you'll see the same excellent show repeated time after time. But we tend to we play the songs in the same order, but that's about it.
Yeah, somebody said about the Doors, you know, that when the Doors did a tour, they'd be like 3 or 4 sort of pretty okay sets, maybe 2 bad ones and 3 absolutely brilliant ones, you know. And that's I think it's because we've only been together for a year and a bit that we've still got a real spontaneity about playing live, you know.
We haven't had a bad one in the States yet. Every gig's been like really tremendous. We weren't expecting, we didn't know what was going to happen before we went on, but we've worked for it and the audience have responded. But it has been different every night. It's not predictable at all, our live show. especially over here because you haven't got the same light rig every night either, or the same sound system. It's like a total different.
It also means you have to go through a full rehearsal.
Yeah.
Like basically, you have to rehearse everything when you get in there because using different equipment.
Like the monitor system today is tiny. Like the one we had 2 days ago was massive, and so you got to adapt to it all. You're not like in England you got the big PA and all the lights. Over here, small clubs, and it's all different, totally different sort of idea.
I was going to ask you about the difference in the audience. Your audience in England is a lot of them are quite young, right? And, I mean, that would here you have a problem with getting people in, like where you're playing tonight. You can't get in because they're selling alcohol. A lot of the young
Yeah, I think it's a shame. We'd rather play places where anyone can get in, but there again, it is good to do club gigs occasionally because you get a really close atmosphere in there. And yeah, the sound is much more powerful in clubs, sort of tighter.
Because it's small, yeah, you don't get like a big ambient sound. It's, as I was saying, it's close. You're in the same room with the audience. Everything's like happening, and they can see as well. They're not like 40 or 50 rows back. They're like,
Besides which, we're going to have to just, sort of wait a bit until we've got a bit more, a bit more of a following, so that we can actually fill the bigger places where the kids can go to.
I still think that would probably always drop in perhaps 1 or 2 surprise small dates, no matter how big we ever get, because it's good.
Do you find the American audience any more restrained than an English audience?
No, I was a bit worried about that when we first came over, but like the first set in Long Island proves that that's just not true.
Not true at all.
And the New York audience are absolutely amazing,
Somebody said that to me yesterday, that they thought that American audiences would hold back more than, and I said, no, I don't know how anybody could say that, because British audiences do at first. They really stand there and want to be convinced, and it takes a few times round before they're with you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people I think have come along and haven't quite known what to make of us when they sort of been listening to the first couple of numbers, but I think there might be something going around where they've heard about what kind of thing's going on in England now, and they want to kind of compete with it and say, yeah, we want to get into it too. We want to have fun. We can dance. Don't think we're going to sit there and sort of cross our legs and wave 2 fingers in the air, peace and love, man, because we want to get into it as well.
Are you all dancers? Because you got really danceable music.
Well, he taps his feet.
Oh, he dances good on like 1 foot. It taps really well,
but it tends to throw the 1 finger that he plays his synthesizer off.
What sort of people do you like, music and all, especially you with the synthesizer?
David Bowie, Roxy Music, Talking Heads, Grace Jones, Yellow Magic Orchestra, film music, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of different kind of there's a huge range of tastes within the band. I mean, Andy's kind of into the more kind of raunchy, sort of harder kind of sounding stuff than
I like a lot of them. Yeah. I also like George Benson. For what he does,
I think it's the difference in tastes that gives us our sound, that gives us our individual
it's more elements
it's our personality as a band.
It's more than one sound.
Yeah, it's not just you haven't got like 5 guys all thinking about the same thing, which would start becoming very boring after a while. It would just be so repetitive. There's a lot of different influences which we all draw from.
It all really paints like a picture too, each of your songs, both lyrically and the music.
Well, that's important. That's part of writing good songs, isn't it? Each one is separate, although they're on an album, which is sort of like got to have some kind of consistency to it. And get each song, and especially in the set, it's a different colour, it's a different shade. We're not thinking in terms of the old anger and frustration of the punk rock groups now. We're trying to bring a bit more variation into the music, into the ideas behind the lyrics, into the pictures that we make, into the visuals on stage.
Yeah, it's all escapism. I mean, that's all it is, music. It's entertainment and escapism and fun.
Right, yeah.
Nothing more. We don't regard as anything more, really.
No, we've sort of decided that we're not going to bore our audience into submission.
I'll preach to them or whatever. I mean, sure, we can do if we want, and some people seem to think that because you can do, that it's necessary to do and take advantage of the situation you've got, which is a bit ludicrous, really, because it can become irresponsible after a while.
So you're going on a short tour now, something like 15 dates, I think?
That's right, yeah.
And you're planning on coming back through again?
Yeah, pretty soon. We've got a lot to do. We've got to make a single pretty quick in a studio. Find a studio somewhere, please. If anybody out there's not got the address of a studio, please phone us up and tell us, because we've got to make this single quick. And then we've got to tour England. And then we got to do some more of Europe.
I mean, like, too many bands do come over here and like get lost in it all and stay, and then blow everywhere else, like England and Europe, because it's been stuck out over here, you know, trying the damnedest to crack it.
I mean, it's the equivalent of, 15 different countries in size for me. You've got to do it bit by bit by bit. You can't expect to blitz the whole place in one go.
You'd probably die anyway with like
the sheer size of the places.
If you did, it's so big, you could kill yourself trying to do
disease like that.
We're just gonna like take our time. We'll probably be back within about 6 months to do like a big tour, like 2.5 months, playing in all the big towns and small towns and clubs and theatres, whatever.
What's the next single going to be?
The next single is going to be a song called Girls on Film. It's we're going to be playing it tonight, and you shall be hearing it. It's bouncy.
You heard it last night, because this will be going out. This won't be going out tonight, so...
Well, you know what I mean. Night. Everybody knows what we're talking about, Steam the Bean. Right, we'll be recording one called...
one for Britain, which is like sort of one ahead.
Yeah, this is called My Own Way.
Yeah.
It's very fast 1980s dance music, just about the pace of living. And, being in a band, I suppose,
really. It's
really.
Actually, to see how the gig goes tonight after just coming back from New York and getting so strung up. It could be quite...
It really wires you about that place, does, yeah. Could be a lot of hanging over energy. Yeah, I've got a lot of energy left.
I think there is a lot of hanging over energy. I've got, like, tons of it.
My toes have started twitching inside my shoes now. I'm thinking, come on, let's get on stage.